All right, let's get this show on the road. What's going on, guys? Vega here for SerpentX Tech. Welcome to another episode of Caffeine and Crypto, where I welcome you to join me with whatever caffeinated beverage of your choice, if you enjoy caffeine, if not some water or whatever you like. And sit down for some crypto news. Got a few articles to go over. Yes, it's probably not the highest grossing, trending article out there, but it's some news, all right? So, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this world right now. Cryptocurrency pulled back a little bit. It's been bouncing between this 39 and 42K range for quite some time. Of course, some altcoins doing good, some coins doing worse than others. Ape popping off. If we look here, and I get out of your way, Ape is at $16 now, up 20%. So I'm glad I grabbed a little bit. Not at the very beginning. You never want to get a coin right when it launches, but during the pullback down to below $10, I'm glad I grabbed a few. Nothing too crazy. As far as what Ape is going to do, apparently it's going to be used for, like, whatever the rich people do. Right now, the Bored Ape Yacht Club is basically a status symbol of, look at me, I got money, if you own one of those. So if you have one of those, congratulations. The Ape coin is going to be utilized in some form or function, like utility, to be like, hey, I'm cool, I got this, I guess, whatever. But yeah, a few coins doing okay, a few in a dark green, but most of us in the red. Bitcoin is sitting around this 39K range, unfortunately. Yeah, so yeah. We started off the beginning of this particular week, April 17th, around the 40K, almost 41K area, pull all the way down to 38K. A few people dollar cost average in, which I would recommend, but not financial advice. It's a dollar cost average in. Pump back up. We hit 43K, and then we drop back down again. So we're kind of sitting between this range here for actually quite some time. Yeah, we hit 48 there, but then back here, what was this? So yeah, bouncing between that 38 and 42 range for quite some time now. When are we gonna get out of this? Nobody has a crystal ball, but it's going to happen eventually. It is definitely going to happen eventually. And if we look back in the history here, we're kind of on an uptrend. We are on an uptrend, but it just seems that 42K, we got a lot of bears wanting to keep us in that range. Maybe because they want to keep getting discounted Bitcoin before it takes off. Because, I mean, honestly, if you think about it, if you have money, like a lot of money, you'd rather buy Bitcoin at a discounted rate over the counter than you would at, 75K, 100K. So these are good times to be, for the average end user who doesn't have millions of dollars to dollar cost average in. Obviously, don't spend more than you're willing to lose. Pay your bills first. Don't put it all in Bitcoin. If you get paid out in Bitcoin, you may want to take some out, put it in a stable coin or something a little bit more stable. But I don't know. This is kind of stable. I mean, we know it's going to be between 38 and 42. But yeah, eventually Bitcoin's going to break out. When it breaks out, then the whole world would be all freaking out and stuff like that. This is some very popular news that I've seen every freaking where, man. It's driving me up the wall. Twitter, Stripe, pilot cryptocurrency payments for creators. Now, that doesn't mean for you and me, and creators specifically like YouTubers and stuff like that, but maybe more higher end influencers, people that have more followers, more clout, if you will. And you can see its articles pretty much in a lot of various news outlets, so to speak. So this is gonna be our first article for the day. Checking on my mining rigs, everything's looking good. Got my neighbor mowing their yard, so I gotta mow mine. Been a busy AF week with my full-time job and everything, so I thank you for all your patience. Sorry if the channel's content hasn't been the latest trend, so to speak. But Gandalf Greg, good morning to you. Key Serzone. Mining. Hola. Golden Wolf, MCW, and Zach. Good morning, guys. All right, so fintech giant Stripe jumps into crypto with a feature that lets Twitter users get paid in stablecoin. Stripe will allow businesses to pay their users via cryptocurrency, starting with Twitter, in the latest sign of how large financial firms are warming to digital assets. The 95 billion online payments company said Friday will start offering merchants the ability to make payments in crypto through the stablecoin USDC, which is issued by crypto firm Circle. Stablecoins are the tokens that are pegged to the currencies in a fiat currency like US dollar, yada yada. Twitter will be the first company to integrate a new payment method starting Friday. The social media platform, which has been the subject of much talk lately over the potential takeover by Tesla CEO Elon Musk, will let a certain number of creators receive their earnings from its paid ticketed spaces and super follows features in USDC. So sometimes when you get those notification spaces, like I've been getting a lot for various ones like Raven Coin, Polygon, XYZ. I'm assuming those spaces, but it's ticketed spaces. So I'm guessing where you have to pay to get in. I haven't really gotten to that. And it's super follows. I'm not entirely sure about that. I have to look into it. But long story short, it's not for us. Now, if you want to contribute to your creator, my YouTube, my Twitter, and various pages are signed up through the Brave browser. If you're using the Brave browser, you can actually tip with basic attention token. If you open up the Brave browser, go to my YouTube channel, go to my Twitter, stuff like that, you can actually tip. And some of the smaller individuals that you may follow, watch, what have you, are probably also signed up for that particular capability. This is just going to be for certain prospects, certain people. It's Stripe's first significant push into crypto since dropping support for Bitcoin 4 years ago. The San Francisco-based startup stopped accepting payments via Bitcoin in January 2018, citing the digital coin's notary for the volatile price swings and the lack of efficiency in making everyday transactions. But the firm has since warmed to crypto amid the hype over Web3, a movement in the tech that calls for the creation of a decentralized version of the internet based on blockchain technology. Stripe last year formed a team dedicated to exploring crypto and Web3. While the store of value aspects of cryptocurrency typically receive the most attention, we view the prospect of open access global financial rails as being at least equally compelling, says Karan Sharma, product manager for Stripe's crypto unit, that mentioned it in a blog post. As a result, we have been exploring ways to use cryptocurrency-based platforms to unlock broader access. The company's crypto payouts feature will run on the Polygon network, which I do like, right? A layer 2 solution that sits on top of the Ethereum network to handle transactions faster and at a lower cost. Bitcoin, Ether, and other cryptocurrencies have faced criticism over the sluggish transactions times and high fees. We plan to add support for additional rails and payout currencies over time, Sharma says. Stripe isn't the only company opening up its platform to digital currencies. In fact, the company is arguably late to the party. Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and other major payment processors have all announced moves in their own space. And then it says here, that was when, cryptocurrency was at its all-time high and things were popping off. The hype was real. So you had a lot of companies announcing acceptance of, during this rally here. And then, of course, as it's drawn down, the companies are second guessing themselves or maybe not as quick to get into the space. Honestly, if I were a company, I would want to get into the space now during a downturn. So that way my infrastructure, my networking, the product that I want to get up and running would be ready to go for the next major run up. That's my personal opinion, but whatever. Let me grab something real quick. Hang on one second. There's your transactions right now. It's been a really long week, man. I got my butt kicked at my full-time job. We're short-handed, but we're making it work. So I need my 5 hour of energy. Take a little bit of my flask. So, back to Twitter and Stripe. I don't have Brave installed on this computer, but I should have installed it before the stream. But yeah, there's a way to tip various creators that you support if their YouTube channel or Twitter or whatever they got allows it. You go to their page on Brave, and there should be an option to tip them, and then you can pay them out in basic attention token. So, you know, this is just being rolled out right now, but will it trickle down to the average Joe? Probably, hopefully, eventually. There probably will be like a limit, like it have so many thousand followers on Twitter. You're gonna have this, that, and the other. You know, people with high amounts of clout often benefit from new features in these centralized applications, which Twitter pretty much is. Moving on, and don't forget, all articles featured in today's video will be linked in the description. What's up, 3Fox? How you doing, man? Crypto Noob UK. What's going on? I guess I'll start putting my speakers in the window at 2 a.m. Dude, it's been one heck of a week. So IMF warns of rising cryptocurrency risk in emerging markets. A spike in cryptocurrency trading in emerging markets could imperil the global financial system, right? Everybody's getting afraid now, right? So not only is news a little bit more bearish because the market's down, views are down, anything cryptocurrency related, mining, trading, or otherwise, views are down because it's not hitting this all-time high. It's not bringing all this attention to it. So, of course, there's going to be negative Nancy's out there, right? There's going to be negative Nancy's and those Karens out there that say crypto is bad. But IMF warns of, you know, this rise in cryptocurrency trading could be a threat to the financial system. And this is not news. This is we've been hearing this for a while, but let's see what IMF says. So IMF is the International Monetary Fund, and they warned on Tuesday in a report on the global financial stability. Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine is revealing the risk of crypto payment systems, the IMF found. Repercussions of Russian invasion of Ukraine has ensued sanctions that continue to impact the world globally, and will test the resilience of the financial system through the various channels, including acceleration of, crypto adoption in the emerging markets, direct and indirect exposures of banks and non-banks, and possible cyber-related events. The IMF highlights the increased use of cryptocurrency in emerging markets since the start of the pandemic, knowing the trading volumes of crypto assets against some emerging market currencies has spiked since the West sanctioned Russia. Although a large part of the uptick stems from speculative investors, a shift towards using crypto as a means of payment could create challenges for policymakers, says IMF. The war in Ukraine has also shined a light on the risk of crypto payment systems, which by nature are decentralized. The lack of centralized payment systems make it harder to track illicit activity for crypto and to enforce sanctions, especially as international payments have increased. The IMF warns cryptocurrency exchanges that don't comply with these sanctions or properly monitor illegal activity could be used to circumvent these sanctions. At the same time, they say the technology crypto uses increases the secrecy of these transactions, allowing dealings to be covered up more easily. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told the House Financial Services Committee earlier this month that the U.S. is monitoring whether crypto is being used to evade sanctions, though she said the Treasury Department hasn't seen any kind of activity yet. So even though people are screaming they're going to use it, they're going to evade sanctions, it's not going to have any effect, yada, 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 it is having an effect, not only on them, but globally. And we have not seen any activity yet of them using said cryptocurrency to evade such sanctions. We are monitoring, says, this is Yellen talking here, we are monitoring the attempts or any attempts to use cryptocurrency to evade our sanctions, and we have ample enforcement authority, which we won't hesitate to use. Ooh, getting a little spicy there, Yellen. Over time, the IMF warns the sanctioned countries like Russia could leverage crypto mining. the people that are mining cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin in Russia, aren't doing it for the government. Yeah, the government can probably go in there and just take whatever the heck they want, but I'm pretty sure they're doing it for themselves because they need money to stay afloat. Now that they're getting their yachts and whatever taken up here in the various parts of the world because of U.S. sanctions, you know, we're seizing the oligarchs' toys, basically. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the oligarchs got their own mining operation, but they're not mining for the sake of Russia. However, if Putin calls upon them, they would not hesitate to give them whatever they got. The monthly average of all Bitcoin mining revenues last year was around 1.4 billion. So that's 1.4 billion dollars in Bitcoin revenue alone, and 11% of which was captured by Russian miners based on IMF's analysis of data from Cambridge Bitcoin Electricity Consumption Index. That's a long name. To safeguard the financial system against the risk from cryptocurrency, the IMF recommends policymakers develop global standards for crypto assets, noting that stronger oversight of fintech firms and decentralized finance platforms is needed to mitigate their risk. The international body recommends policymakers develop coordinated regulations for crypto assets to manage capital flows, create international collaboration, address data gaps, and leverage technology. Regulators should also create a financial action task force to enforce standards to guard against illicit capital flows. So all this, you know, after, you know, Biden administration has issued or requested a study to be done on cryptocurrency, the impact of such and such, you know, we have people like this sounding the alarm, really trying to scare, not really, their intent isn't to scare, but, you know, some policymakers, some regulators that are not properly educated would see this, okay, well, crypto's a threat, we got to do something right now. But we do have some people in those places throughout various forms of government, throughout different countries, states, and everything, that are somewhat educated and are trying to lead their governments in the right direction. So while we have the naysayers, the Karens, what did I say before? The Karens and the negative Nancys, we do have our counterparts in those same positions working to, if we're going to provide regulation, if we're going to do some type of structure from a government standpoint, that we do it in such a way that we're not impeding the growth, because blockchain, baby, is here to stay. Just get used to it. All those people who are like, mining is dead, mining's gonna die, mining's gonna go away, ETH merger's coming, goodbye. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, it may drop drastically, but it ain't going nowhere, baby. We're here. Been here for years, and we will be here for years to come. We just need to have our countries move to more sustainable means of energy output. I want to talk about this one right here. So watch out. Cryptocurrency miners targeting Dockers, AWS, and Alibaba Cloud, right? So a little bit of an exploit. Lemon Duck, a cross-platform cryptocurrency mining botnet, is targeting Docker to mine cryptocurrency on Linux systems as part of its active malware campaign. It runs an anonymous mining operation by use of proxy pools, which hide the wallet addresses, CrowdStrike said in a new report. It evades detection by targeting Alibaba's cloud monitoring services and disabling it. Known to strike both Windows and Linux environments, the Lemon Duck is primarily engineered for abusing the system's resources to mine Monero, a privacy-focused coin. But it's also capable of credential theft, lateral movement, and facilitating the deployment of additional payloads for follow-on activities. It uses a wide range of spectrum mechanisms, phishing emails, exploits, USB devices, brute force, and among others. And it also shown that it can quickly take advantage of news, events, or the release of new exploits to run effective campaigns. Microsoft detailed in a technical write-up of the malwares last July. What that basically means is it's really good at taking the release of new exploits and run effective campaigns. Is 9 times out of 10, if there's some type of exploit or some type of attack vector that can be exploited for said system, Microsoft Exchange, cloud services, XYZ, even your iPhone or your Android phone, when there's a security issue, 9 times out of 10, all of that is being handled or addressed offline, right? Perfect example, one hacker group or a gray hat group advised said company, hey, you have a problem. This is what we were able to do. This is how we exploited it. Sent that information to the company. The company sat on their hands, and then they published, the group published their findings, which made it available to the public. The whole point is that you take that information, right? You have your own, what we would call penetration testers in-house to test, networking capabilities, apps, whatever it may be. And when they find exploits, we run that against an independent company or testers, see what their findings are, and then we work on a resolution or patching or securing whatever it may be. We have set amount of time behind closed doors to fix that. Like, Microsoft, if they're warned, they should be, I think they have a bounty program. They should be patching those exploits, and before they publish their paper, they already have it patched, right? So you usually will get your updates for most of your services, right? Whether it's your Windows operating system, a Linux patch, Android or Apple patch, prior to the data becoming public, so that way you're secure. But if you, the end user, don't update your services, your servers, whatever it may be, then you leave yourself open to it. Well, in some cases, people, even on the other side of the coin, the black hats, would use said data, right, said exploits, to quickly implement the attack vector and attack systems that have not been updated or patched. In early 2021, attack chains involving LemonDuck leveraged the newly patched Exchange server vulnerabilities to gain access to outdated Windows machines before downloading backdoors and information stealers, including Remit. Now, a lot of the Windows Exchange servers that I have dealt with that are out of date, the biggest offender out of everybody that I dealt with is schools. Local schools, district schools, charter schools. They have their server to be able to do whatever they need to do on a daily basis, and they always seem to be the slowest. Like, you can come to them with a full report, be like, hey, we need to update this. But if we update this, whatever their outdated school software won't work, so we got to talk to their software developer to get it updated. And it's just a big cat and mouse game, or pushback and pushback. So we need to update. There's a security exploit, but we can't update because XYZ utilities would need to be updated. So we got to wait on those. So then their servers don't get it updated, and then they get compromised. And there have been a number of schools who have been compromised because they're running outdated whatever it may be. The latest campaign spotted on CrowdStrike takes advantage of the exposed Docker API as an initial access vector, using it to run a rogue container to retrieve a bash shell script file that is disguised as a harmless PNG file from a remote server. An analyst of historical data shows a similar image file droppers hosted on LemonDuck associated domains have been put to use by threat actors since at least January 2021, the cybersecurity firm noted. And here are some of those. The dropper files are key to launching the attack. When the shell script downloaded, with the shell script downloading the actual payload that then kills competing processes, disables Alibaba's cloud monitoring services, and then finally downloads and runs an XMR rig coin miner. So they're using XMR rig, with compromised cloud instances becoming a hotbed for illicit cryptocurrency mining activities. The findings underscored the need to secure containers from potential risk throughout the software supply chain. And they're getting bold, and they'll say it here lately. I wouldn't say bold. All right. So my colleagues out there, they're not afraid. Before, it would be attack in the shadows, right? Fight in the dark. Hit them from where they can't see. But now, as technology has gotten better and better, different tools, utilize utilities, so on and so forth, have gotten better. We don't have to do that. We can attack during the day. We can attack during the night. We can attack whenever we want and implement such attack vectors that can impact entire organizations. You know, ransomware isn't the only thing that people, the average end user, needs to worry about. A lot of people, especially working from home people, are using cloud services to do their work. So the malware payload, which are said to have been modified in response to previous public disclosures, are primarily designed to target Amazon Web Services, or AWS, which simultaneously focuses on cryptocurrency mining, persistence, lateral movement, and disabling cloud security solutions. Lateral movement, unless I'm mistaken, means to move, to expand into other devices, systems, servers, whatever it may be. The tools used by Team TNT demonstrate that cyber criminals are increasingly comfortable attacking modern environments such as Docker, Kubernetes, and public cloud providers, which have traditionally been avoided by other cyber criminals who have instead focused on on-premise or mobile environments. So nothing is safe in today's world. And so when these patches come out, warning of said exploits, those companies need to get on it. If they sit and wait, they could be impacted. And in today's world, if you look at it right now, what's the network map? Like the amount of attacks coming from country to country or from inside the country to another business inside the country, it's absolutely nuts. It's crazy how many attacks are going on. So that's not all. In yet another instance of high threat actors quickly co-opt newly disclosed flaws into attacks, the critical remote code execution bug in Spring Framework CVE 2022-2296 has been weaponized to deploy cryptocurrency miners. The exploitation attempts make use of custom web shell to deploy the cryptocurrency miners, but not before turning off the firewall and terminating other virtual currency miner processes. That's pretty sick. These cryptocurrency miners have the potential to affect a large number of users, especially since Spring is the most widely used framework for developing enterprise-level applications in Java. And I remember when that, what was it, that Java exploit came out, and everybody just say Java Minecraft, and you know which exploit I'm talking about. It's crazy how the world has grown. We're about halfway right now. For anybody who just jumped into the live stream, welcome. My name is Vega. This is Serpent X Tech. And this is a weekly show that we do called Caffeine and Crypto. Got a little bit of an update for everybody who's familiar with this show. I may not be able to film or stream Caffeine and Crypto next Saturday. However, if you follow me on Twitter and follow me through my channel, you will get those updates regularly. I will have some interesting stuff for you next week, so make sure to get subscribed, make sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date, and make sure to follow me on Twitter. Zach Slater just joined us. Thank you very much. He states that this is actually a huge problem. It's the cost of the updated licensing is never really covered in the budget. Microsoft Server licensing can be stupid expensive, however. 100% correct. Especially when you go to schools, churches, and I'm talking about like smaller operations, not enterprise operations. Enterprise operations, I'm pretty sure Zach and I would agree, would budget for said licensing or whatever they need for their systems. But schools and smaller operations, they don't budget for that. And so they buy it one time, they expect to be able to use it out of their entire lifetime, and then something happens and then they're SOL. A lot of them don't even back up, which is so stupid. I hate when I go on a job site, I see their network infrastructure, I see their backup solutions, I see what they're running, and I'm just like, why? Why are we doing it? It's 2022, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, moving on. The stream gets a little bit choppy for some reason, but I see that some of you are still here. Thank you so much. We got Ukraine bans Bitcoin purchases with local currency amid martial law. We might see more of this. Depending on the country, we might see more of this. But the National Bank of Ukraine, the NBU, continues taking measures to prevent capital outflows amid martial law by enforcing major restrictions on cryptocurrency purchases. The Ukrainian Central Bank officially announced Thursday a set of restrictions on cross-border operations prohibiting individuals from buying cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin with the national fiat currency. And I can't even say that. How do we say that? Hang on. Let's go look it up. It's the pronunciation. Let's listen. Oh, wait. My sound's off. Hang on.
Hryvnia.
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 Hryvnia. Okay, Hryvnia. Ukrainians are now allowed to buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies only with foreign currency, with total monthly purchases limited to 100,000 hryvnia, or $3,300. The relevant limit also applies to international peer-to-peer transactions. Ooh, that sucks. So I can only send... Wow. Okay, so only allowed to buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies with foreign currency, but spending no more than 100,000 hryvnia or 300. Wow. So I can only send you $3,300. So what happens if I send more? I wonder. So according to the announcement, the MBU has deemed crypto purchases as quasi-cash transactions, alongside operations like electronic wallet deposits, foreign exchange transaction, and travel payments. By adoption restrictions on such transactions, the central bank aims to prevent the unproductive outflow of capital from the country amid martial law. Now, come on, Ukraine. The relevant changes will help improve the foreign exchange market, which is necessarily prerequisite for easing restrictions in the future, as well as reducing pressure on Ukraine's international reserves. The central bank admitted that the need for international transactions have massively increased amid martial law, with millions of citizens being forced to leave Ukraine. However, the MBU cannot afford unproductive capital outflows, which include investing in cryptocurrencies. The announcement notes added quasi-cash transactions, say that 5 times fast, are mainly carried out to circumvent the current restrictions of the national bank, in particular for investing abroad, which is prohibited under martial law. Therefore, the relevant transactions should be interpreted as leading to unproductive capital outflows. Okay. Somebody help me out with this. Why? So stopping capital outflows from out of the country, right? I could understand if maybe there was like some people using cryptocurrency to move capital from Ukraine to Russia that you would want to stop that. But for the Ukrainian citizen that's trying to just leave the country because of war or whatever, moving their assets outside the country, I guess they need the capital in-house. I don't know. This is something that is a little bit beyond my expertise. According to the MBU, not a little bit, a lot of it. The Ukrainian government adopted the relevant changes as part of the MBU board resolution on Wednesday, which was then entered into force. The restriction apparently raised eyebrows as the Ukrainian government has been actively working to legalize cryptocurrency amid martial law. Yeah, so you're trying to legalize cryptocurrency, but you won't let more than whatever. Okay. All right. Good luck. On the other side, we got Argentina embracing cryptocurrency. Good job. But Argentina's been going through some stuff. In Argentina, there are traces everywhere of distrust and even trauma related to the economy. Memory of Argentina's crushing financial crisis at the end of the 1990s, when bank accounts were frozen and almost overnight people's savings evaporated. One engineering student that this article writer spoke to keeps all his savings in the US dollars at home because he fears the banks will again devalue holdings overnight. While many Argentinians are, by necessity, experts on the state of the economy, from the sky-high level of inflation to the current unofficial rate of exchange between the peso and the US dollar, Mr. Ferrer has gone further than most. Since 2019, he's running a walking tour called Our Local Crazy Economy and Bitcoin Tour of Buenos Aires, where he explains to tourists the level of restrictions Argentinians face, such as limits on foreign currency transactions or bans on payments in installments for international flights. When you have these restrictions, you need tools for freedom, says Mr. Furr. For many crypto enthusiasts around the world, decentralized and digital currency is primarily about ideology or profit, but for many Argentinians, it fills the more basic need. I trust more mathematics and software than I trust politicians. Put that on a shirt. Mr. Furr explains, I think that Bitcoin for Argentinians should be a no-brainer. There are other ways that the strong government intervention in the economy has helped cryptocurrency gain a footing in Argentina. For example, it's relatively cheap to run an energy-guzzling Bitcoin mining operation because the cost of electricity is kept relatively low. Obviously, that has a counter effect as well. But inflation, because if energy is really low and you have a bunch of people flock to there, then we have greenhouse gases. But Argentina doesn't really care too much about the environment, or it doesn't care as much about the environment as the rest of the world. That they wouldn't care. That, you can just go there, throw up your mining operations, pay cheap electricity. But obviously, there's some drawbacks, some catch-22s there. So, pick and choose. Inflation, which is measured how the cost of living changes over time, is at an ever-present concern in Argentina. The year-on-year rate of inflation is staggering at over 50%. In the pandemic, people noticed this situation, and to protect their money, they chose to look for an asset that was limited, says Maria. So far, the government has taken a relaxed attitude towards cryptocurrency boom. In Argentina, there is no specific regulation on cryptocurrency. Not yet. Not yet. So, for people in these countries, Bitcoin can be a safe haven because their fiat currency for their country is gone to crap. Inflation is incredibly high. So it's good to see Argentinians taking advantage of the cryptocurrency market to, help maintain their wealth, right? That's their money. And what sucks is in 1990s, all the money that they had saved up basically disappeared. And wouldn't that suck? You wake up the next morning. Think about that right now. You wake up one morning and all of the, your bank account that said maybe, whatever $1,000 that you had in there is just zero. How mad would you be? You'd be calling the bank. You'd be calling somebody. You'd be ranting and raving. You'd be on Twitter going after the CEO of whatever bank or organization. That would be very disappointing. And so some of these countries, it's more impactful to have a cryptocurrency asset that they can utilize, not so much as a store of value, but as a way to transact. And so that, what 1 second you have money, the next second you don't, you will always have Bitcoin. I tell that to my mom. So she's worried because, in 1998 and 2008 and various financial issues, right? The stocks that she was invested in just disappeared. Well, in those type of situations, traditional stocks, especially when you're dealing with a broker, which most people that have bigger amounts of money do. It's not like today where the average retail investor, you and I, can go to, Webull, Cash App, Robinhood, and buy portions of these stocks or entire stocks. Back then, you would need a broker. The broker would manage the funds. You would give the money. It would come out of your paycheck or whatever, and then they just reallocate. They'll do everything for you. Well, if those stocks go to zero or those stocks go down, the broker and whoever is managing your money still takes their cut. So while the market's going down, you're losing money, not only because the market's going down, but because that person's taking their cut. They'll always get paid. So the stocks went down really low. It liquidated her position. She had no more, right? There's no more assets that she owned. Well, if Bitcoin goes to zero, right? Whether it's today or years from now, you still have that Bitcoin. You should still have that Bitcoin in your wallet. Now, on Cash App and Coinbase and some of the major exchanges, if Bitcoin did go zero or negative, then what will those platforms do? Will they lock it down like Robinhood did? Will they stop payment? Would they freeze it and you couldn't do anything? I don't know. But that's why we normally say, keep your crypto on your own wallets, right? Not your keys, not your coins. That's what we say. Not your keys, not your coins. So, Even if it goes to zero, you're still going to have X amount of Bitcoin. Even if it goes to zero, you're still going to have X amount of Ethereum, right? Let me get out of your way here. Bitcoin average transaction fee is 44 cents. Ethereum is $3.75 right now at time of filming. So if you got any transactions you need to do, go get it done. I'm not seeing too many NFTs in here. Where are the NFTs? There's a Bored Ape right there. Oh, I missed it. Damn it. Where's the Bored Ape? There's got to be a Bored Ape somewhere. Nope. Where's the NFTs? NFTs. Look at these lines, man. Holy smokes. That's a lot of transactions. Good golly. And it keeps going. Okay. There's an NFT. So that's one of the, what do you call that? That's one of the owls. What's that called? Let's go to OpenSea real quick. OpenSea. Explore. Top. Moonbirds. That's what it's called. Moonbirds. Look at this, guys. 1.34 Ethereum for this. This is like, what, 8-bit, 16-bit art design? And people are spending this kind of money on it? Like, what is going on with people? Well, that's only 40 bucks, right? That's DAI, yeah. That's not too bad. 32 ETH. Why? Why are we spending so much on this crap, guys? Why can't it be good stuff? Well, some of it is good. I did get something recently. Hang on, let me pull it up on a different screen because I don't want you guys looking at my stuff. And then we're gonna talk about power. So Son of a Tech did a really good job talking about this in his daily show. And he was talking about power excursions, right? So this is where your power supply can spike. And usually those spikes are handled within the power supply so that way it keeps level, it keeps stable and stuff like that. But yeah, so remember I have all of these. Some of them have Ethereum in them. But the whole point was to do like an Easter egg hunt where if you bought it, there's a chance that you could win some of that Ethereum that's in there. Not life-changing money, but just a little bit of Ethereum that you can claim and add to your wallet or just keep it there, whatever. But the problem is to put one of these on sale for like 10 bucks, I would spend 33. And I kind of felt that wasn't worth it. And I told people if they wanted to, they can go make an offer for it if they really want to. But I just bought this. I actually bought this. Because I'm interested. I love F1 racing. I love games. And so there's this Meta F1 club. There's a lot of fake ones too that are out there. And yeah. So these cars are coming out. The more you mint, the more they come out. But I'm going to hang on to my all white because I think it looks pretty sleek. There are some pretty nice designs on here. We'll see how the game turns out eventually. But either it's a waste of money or it makes up for it in the future. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But you can find me at, what is it? SerpentX Tech on OpenSea. I bet you if you just search SerpentX, Dr. Serpent. Yeah, SerpentX Tech right there. Underscore. Don't forget the underscore. All right, moving on. Power excursions, right? All right, so I'm not going to go into full detail about this. Son of a Tech did a really good job covering it. But you can see on this power supply right here, there's a sensor. You see this sensor right here? This sensor, sense, what's it called? Sense something. But that would help with these newer GPUs, the PCIe 5.0 standard, or not PCIe, ATX 3.0 standard. What's the actual terminology? 12V HPWR standard. You know, that sensor will help, you know, keep that GPU in line. And so when you have these GPUs spiking, and sometimes look at this. So if you were to adapt an existing power supply, ATX power supply, to run a same 300 watt GPU, you could potentially need a power supply that's 1100 watts to support the GPU, CPU, and account for power excursions. Intel believes. Obviously, we're going to have to wait to actual testing comes about. I am personally going to wait like right now with my Ryzen system 5900X and everything, I'm going to actually wait a while to, even if the new motherboards come out with the new ATX 3.0 standard and all that stuff, I'm not going to be one of the first to get it. I say that, but I always wind up being one of the first. But I would like to wait, and then once we adopt that standard, that becomes a little bit more, stable around the computer environment, then I will upgrade. But long story short, these cards, right, we see with the 3090 Ti has the cable capability of drawing 600 watts. It's only 450, around 450. Some people show that it could hit 500, 505 watts, something like that. But as these cards become more power hungry, we do need to adopt a new ATX standard, which we are doing. However, they're saying in this article that, say for example, a new 4000 series GPU is, you're playing a game, you're drawing power, there may be intervals in there where the power just spikes really quick, and it could draw up to X amount for microseconds. Let me read this part to you right here. With the new PCIe 5.0 connector and the ATX 3.0, Intel and the PCI SIG address what both call power excursions. So basically there's power excursions that is basically called a power spike. And this is what, when you hear somebody talk about rippling, that's where your power is just fluctuating really high. But you got these components within the power supply to help keep those level, right? So it may fluctuate, but it's keeping it consistent within a certain parameter. The PCI SIG has basically outlined the capability of the GPU to exceed the maximum sustained power of a card by 3x. This means a 600 watt card on PCIe 5.0 12 VH PWR connector is allowed to spike to 1800 watts for 100 microseconds. Now 100 microseconds is very small, but these spikes, right? Like sometimes when I start my mining rig up, or I start my mining program up on my main computer, my lamp will flicker just ever so slightly, but it will during the startup process, and then everything will calm down. I have a lot of stuff in my room, between the lights, TV, my computer having a 1200 watt power supply. I have a lot of stuff, and then on the other side of this wall is my son's computer and TV. There's a lot of power being drawn right here in this area. So with the new standard, if I get a high-end GPU, I could, in that 100 microseconds, draw so much power that it pops my breaker or trips my breaker. This is a problem because when it comes to mining, and I talked about this in the past, and I even talked about it when I was on the show with Czech Shinji, is that these GPUs are becoming more and more power hungry, and it's getting absolutely crazy. And the amount of power you're going to need to run these GPUs is nuts. And then that's just from a computer gaming standpoint. When you have a computer with a single GPU, now when you start adding 6 GPUs, 8 GPUs, that's some serious juice you're going to be needing, right? And so according to this table right here, PCIe, AIC, and PSU power budget used for peak power excursion test cases, you can see here the amount of power, PSU rated power supply size. CPU continuous power, 300 watts, 600 for the PCIe, 1200 power supply size. So you're going to need that extra headroom to make up for the power excursions. But I don't think from a mining standpoint, we have too much to worry about, right? We got these adapters, right, that take 2 8-pins into one, 12 pin. Is it 12? Yeah, 6 plus 6. So we have 2 8-pins that go into one 12-pin adapters that you'll see on the channel as well for 3070 founders, 3060 Ti founders, 3070 Ti founders, 3080 and 3090, so on and so forth. But parallel miner server power supplies are pretty damn efficient. And it just depends on if you're on 110, 120, 220, 240. You can see here that on the various outputs or voltages, you get certain wattages. For example, on 100 volts, you get 800 watts. On 110, you get 900. On 200 to 240, you get 1200, and it's 80 plus platinum 94% efficiency. So these server power supplies are super efficient because they're made for enterprise or corporate environments. Also, parallel miner uses a thicker gauge wiring. Like most ATX power supplies, from my understanding or from what I've seen, use 18 AUG or gauge, whereas the cables for parallel miner kits are 16 gauge, right? They come pretty long, but their max wattage is 400 watts for the 6-pin to 8-pin. So when you plug the 6-pin into that breakout board to the single 8-pin, that's about 400 watts you could put, right? So if you put 2 of these on, your new 4000 series graphics card that has the dual 8-pin to 12-pin adapter, you should be perfectly fine. And these server power supplies should be able to handle these spikes. But I wouldn't put, for example, if we had, let's say we had, bust out the calculator here, let's say we had a few 4000 series GPUs rated up to 600, maybe 550 a pop. So 550 times 6, that's 3,300 watts. Plus the power excursion. We're probably going to need about 6,000 watts according to Intel spec. But again, we need some testing. We need further data. We need further information. Gamers Nexus and a lot of our favorite YouTubers and tech YouTubers are going to get this information and confirm for us about the power excursions, right? This is just what Intel, PCI SIG are saying. We need more information on this. I trust them. I trust PCI SIG. I'm just saying we need more information on this. So 3,300 watts to run 6 GPUs. That's pulling 550 watts stock TDP. And then obviously with power excursion and stuff like that, I'm estimating 6,000 watts of power. So you would basically need what? 6,000 divided by 12. 5 of these server power supplies. I don't think that's absolutely necessary. I bet we could get away with 2, maybe 3 of them to handle the power excursions. Because again, these server power supplies are made for higher end environments compared to ATX power supplies. But we're going to need some power supply testing, which is the whole reason why Gamers Nexus did their power supply testing methodology. They already got their setup configuration. So it'll be very interesting to see what they come up with. But this could be a potential problem for miners, 100%. I'm just saying that, you got 2 options here. Either if you make an entire rig of 4000 series GPUs with the new standard, the new ATX 3.0 standard, then get some beefy ATX 3.0 power supplies, but make sure you're on a 240 volt system, not a normal 110 or 120 commercial house, residential house type setup. Another one is we're going to have adapters that we can use, 8-pin to 12-pin or whatever. We're going to have to just make sure that our cables are significantly capable of it. For example, even though parallel miner can handle, the cable itself can handle about 400 watts, that doesn't mean you should be pushing that the entire time, 24/7, 365. And that's much better than a normal ATX power supply. We know that a 6-pin on an ATX power supply, that one entire strand on a 6-pin is rated for 216, but then the 8-pin is rated for 288. So even though that strand has 1, 2, 3, 6 plus 2-pin connectors, that entire strand can only do 288. So if you got multiple GPUs splitting off of that one strand, pulling X amount of power, that could be where your failure happens. So you just gotta be smart, be careful, especially if you're adapting the ATX 2.0 standard to the newer GPUs as you build your future mining rigs. Just to wrap up things here, let's see here. MSI, because we're getting ready to wrap up. I think this is interesting. So MSI to enable AMD Ryzen 7 5800X 3D. So basically their new CPU, B-clock overclocking, right? So those CPUs are locked. You're not supposed to be able to overclock it, but obviously with certain ways, there's ways around it. Now Ryzen AMD did advise them, do not do this. The reason is because once you start pushing the limits, you could break, fry your Ryzen CPU. So if you're doing this at your own risk. If you update your BIOS and you start playing around with the overclocks, you're doing this at your own risk. High potential for you to kill the CPU. If you don't care, whatever. If you buy another one, whatever. But MSI to allow some tuning on the new AMD CPU, which from according to the reviews, is actually pretty damn good, right? It's certain games, certain workloads, maybe not enterprise, AutoCAD, type workloads, but gaming workloads, certain games, it beats even the 12,000 high-end Intel CPU. And then even one of the people were able to maximize the potential of the 5800 X3D. Looks like Sean was able to undervolt this particular CPU, and CPU has a peak voltage of 1.35 to keep the 3D V cache from damaging itself, but undervolting is almost impossible on an AM4 and showcased by Sean. Okay, so what is this saying? Showcases impressive undervolting capabilities at sub 1 volt, consumes max 57 watts power while offering the same performance. So pretty cool. Be able to undervolt it, but still get relatively the same performance. Very interesting stuff. So Sean was able to get the chip below the 1 volt barrier. He was able to reach 0.844 volts. Nice. At the limit, the CPU consolidated, and then an all-core frequency of 4.4 gigahertz. The CPU also operated at 40 to 41 C. Nice. Decent performance. Very nice. So, I mean, AMD's killing it, man. AMD's been killing it. Ever since they came out with the first Ryzen series CPUs, they've been doing really good. They've been on a good track. I'm interested to see what they have to offer. Speaking of what they have to offer, AMD refreshes on May 10th. So we're talking 6950 XT, maybe 6750 XT, possibly May 10th, 18 gigabit per second. Just refreshes of the GPUs we know. Pretty much, we're going to have to just test and tune. No speculation on performance, but if we know what the 6600, the 6700, 6800 all can do, then we'll see how things go. What I'm interested in is we know the 6800 up to the 6900 all perform the same from a mining perspective on Ethereum, right? About 64 mega hash, some 120 watts. You can probably get it lower than that. But what would the 6850 or the 6950 or the 6750 be able to do? I'd be very interested to see, because we could see the memory, for example, on the 6750 XT, they're saying it's 18 gigabit per second. So we need the bus, the bandwidth, and memory speed to really get a gauge of how these cards are performed. Stay tuned for updates. We might talk about that in the future. And Thermalright launches a new bend corrector frame for Alder Lake C processors, so they're not bending the LGA 1700 socket type CPUs. Got these little brackets that you can put on it to keep it nice and secure and not have to worry about the mounting pressure that one might put on their CPU. And last but not least, this article is shilling some stuff. I do not condone this, but it's saying if you missed out on Ethereum in the early stage, BitGert is the option. And they're saying BitGert and CEX are options if you missed out on Ethereum. I don't agree with that, but people are going to show what they want to show. It's going to be up to you to do your own research, look into these projects. Don't just go buy it because some article said it. Don't just go buy it because some YouTuber mentioned it. Go do some research on these things before you go diving in, okay? That's going to do it for today's episode. I thank you so much. Gandalf, good luck with baseball. Have a fun game. Be safe out there. Make sure you guys continue to stack those sats, whether you're dollar cost averaging, mining, or both. And make sure you take care of yourself. Take care of your bills. Take care of your responsibilities. Matter of fact, right now, I got to go help my dad work on his Reaper, which is a 3-wheel vehicle with a Hayabusa motor. And I got to get some work done around the house, get the yard cut. So, regular guy on the internet, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all your support by liking, subscribing, clicking links in the description. All that helps us out tremendously. And yeah, that's it. Do me a favor, on the way out, hit the like button. Don't forget to get subscribed, hit notification bell, stay up to date. So I'll check out links in the description to help support the channel. And I will catch you all next week or throughout the week. Take care.